in our opinion, of all the asset classes, it's the easiest one to understand, the easiest one to cash flow. Money follows assets, right? And it's an asset. It's going to cash flow, and it's going to supplement. It's going to, you can use it for so many things. We can go into all the different ways we've used real estate to pay off bills, to pay,
college
if you had a student loan.
College tuition for our daughters.
Yeah, college tuition.
Yeah.
If you're in debt right now and you want to pay off all your credit cards, use your real estate. Use this asset to purchase your liabilities. Some people just go out and buy liabilities, and they're not cash flowing. They're not bringing them any money. And so that's not the way you buy liabilities. You buy your liabilities from the cash flow that your asset brings you. And that's one of the huge benefits of real estate. There's so many. Yeah. I could run down probably
tax
6
benefits.
or 7 just off the top of my head.
There's a lot of things. The other thing, and I don't know exactly what the exact statistics are, so I won't try to say what I believe, but I can tell you what we generally know from just all the many, many, many hundreds of people that we meet is the vast majority of people, the very high percentage of people, don't really have and have not prepared themselves and invested correctly. So even if they own a house and they might have what they consider to be a great job, and make, it used to be, people would always say 6 digits, but 6 digits is like $10,000 now. When you used to say, I make 6 digits a year, but so 100,000 now is like, it's like 10 grand. Okay. By the time you get the tax and everything else that's going to happen, and you pay your health care benefits and this and that and daycare, and there's 100 grand is not going to take care of it.
Well, Roger, just bring up another very important point.
There's many.
He just mentioned a job. Like, I have a great job, I make a great income.
They perceive that they have a great job,
and they
probably
company. Do. And sometimes you might want to even keep that great job because you enjoy the work, or whatever, for whatever reason. Maybe you are making a pretty decent income; it's paying your bills and so forth. But you need to understand
that could go
where it falls.
That could have. Remember Enron? You remember? There's a whole bunch of companies. Okay, but you remember the .com?
I do. I was there.
So
I was there.
People had great jobs that were making like a lot of money in corporate positions and all this, and they go there, and the door's chained. Nobody even told them. It's like there's a chain. You go to your office building and there's a chain on the door.
Well, let's talk about
6 digits.
Let's talk about something.
6 digits are gone.
Let's talk about something we learned from a good mentor of ours who's been around for a long time, and his name is Robert Kiyosaki. Yeah. One of the things that Robert Kiyosaki taught us was the cash flow quadrant.
Oh yeah.
If you've never played the cash flow game, you absolutely must.
Yeah.
So there's a cash flow quadrant, right? Imagine 4 quadrants, like a line going this way and a line going that way, and you have 4 squares, right? The first one is where the employee sits. The second one is for a self-employed person. The third one would be big business, and then the fourth one is the investor. So that employee that you were just talking about that was making that great salary is being taxed.
Oh, no doubt.
Heavily, like 40% of their income is being taxed, 40 to 50%. Then the self-employed person that left that job and wanted to start their own thing, it could be a doctor, it could be a dentist, it could be a real estate agent, a mechanic. They want to start their own thing, and everybody's like, yeah, go start your own business. That's great. You go, not knowing that they're going to be taxed like crazy, and then they're going to have to pay 15% unemployment tax on top of it, right? So they're free from the boss. Now they've started their own company, which is fantastic because now you can scale it to become that big business, which is then only taxed about 20%, maybe less, right, of their income. But then you fall down to that investor, and this is where the real estate investor lives, this is why wealthy people invest in real estate, is because you can literally set yourself up to where you're not paying any income tax. Right, and it's a combination of ways that you do it, but it's so exciting.
I think we remember the big thing when the debates were going on. I think, it wasn't this election, but the previous one, and everybody was upset with Donald Trump about not paying any taxes, and I think the comment that he made, which was so accurate, the very people that say that all do exactly the same thing, because wealthy people know about the strategies of real estate investing. 3 out of 4, I think I would venture to say that all wealthy people invest in real estate in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not as much as others, But the reality is they all utilize the benefits. It's the same benefits, which is why Warren Buffett said his tax rate and his secretary's tax rate were exactly the same. How can you be one of the wealthiest people in the world, and your tax rate and your employee's tax rate is you're paying less?
Yeah.
So right there, you got to know there's something you don't know. Right. That's why we say we like the truth. So when you hear the myths about, oh, it's dangerous and it's risky, and you could do that, and what if the tenant wrecks your house? What if you get sued? What if you got to fix? Somebody calls you at 3 a.m. and said the toilet's clogged. No one has my phone. Have we ever got? I have never got a call at 3 a.m. to say that we ever.
No,
ever.
but
we have a lot of tenants.
It kind of goes back to the education piece, right? The Bible says that my people perish for a lack of knowledge. My people perish for a lack of knowledge. There also is a parable in the Bible that talks about investing. You talked about people say, oh, it's too risky. The parable where the master left and said, when I come back, I want you to take this money that I left you and I want you to invest it. Yep. And the person that didn't invest their money got in big trouble.
Called him a slowful,
right?
So basically just a waste.
So
you're just a waste.
There's a difference between risk and risky. We don't do risky deals. No. We understand that real estate is a risk. Anytime you're investing your money, you're taking somewhat of a risk. Yeah, but you educate yourself, you make the smartest choices, and you don't do risky things. Like you don't go out and buy a 200-unit apartment building and you've never bought your first.
Well, you live in an apartment and you bought an apartment. You go in as a partnership on an apartment building. You live in an apartment, which is nothing wrong with living in an apartment, but you kind of crawl and then you walk and then you jog. You don't just I'm just going to fly out the gate and I'm going to go buy a 400-unit apartment.
Start small and you start local. This is what we teach our students. And so going back to that cash flow quadrant that Robert taught us about, and you can see the difference in the tax structure for each type of employee or each type of income earner. Going back to the big business being less than 20% in tax, well, the government is going to reward you when you're providing goods and services that people need and want. So invest in stuff that people need and want, right? So, if you're a big business and you're providing housing or you're providing food and those kind of things, you're taking the risk. So absolutely, you should get the reward. That's why you
get the tax breaks.
You should get the tax benefits.
They exist.
When you're investing in real estate, you're providing housing for people. People need a place to live. And so if I'm going to take the risk to purchase this house and renovate the house, I think people forget that, folks go out and they flip houses, and that's another whole different tax structure. But anyway, people go out and they fix houses up and they flip them, or they fix them up and they rent them out. It's providing housing for people. It's not something that we're just doing because we want to make money from it. Oh, it's fun. I just renovated this house and I get to keep the money and the house is just sitting there. No, that house just provided a place for a family to live.
And not only does it do that, and we deal with a lot of different, because we are real estate developers and builders and we own several companies. One of the things that we do is we talk to the municipalities that we build in. And matter of fact, before we start doing real estate development in an area, our first thing is we meet the city manager, the mayor, the city council. We go to the meetings. We talk to people in planning and zoning. We go meet them. These are public offices. They will actually meet with you. Newsflash: people think you can't get information. You can actually go. They'll tell you what area they're looking at, what they need. They'll tell you what they will do and won't do. And there's even some ability to try to reason with them to say, listen, I'll build here. We'll spend our money, because we're spending our money to develop. But if you have vacant land and it belongs to a city, they don't make anything. They actually pay. They pay to cut the grass. They get no taxes off of it because they
trash.
Own it. They got it. People dump on it. They wind up cleaning up the trash. It's of no benefit to any community. So when we go in and we buy property, the very first thing I say is, we actually are we're partnered. We should be partnering, because when I come in and I invest hundreds of thousands of dollars and I now put a property here that you can get zero money, and now you're getting real estate taxes, not to mention everything else that comes with someone moving into the community. You got a $600,000 house. You were getting nothing on this lot. Now you're taxing the people at the tax rate for whichever community it is. Then they're paying water and sewer. They're paying this. They're buying in the community. all that stuff goes along. So that's part of kind of the work together. You don't, and a lot of times that part's not seen.
Well, and also you just provided a house for somebody.
Well,
right?
exactly.
We're in a time now where there's a housing shortage. Yeah. So we find houses that have been abandoned, or maybe they're about to be demolished or whatever, and we come in and we fix the house up to the point where we would live in it ourselves. We never renovate a house that we wouldn't live in. And once it's done, we provide housing for people.
You brought up something. You brought up a good point about something that ties to all this too. For the people that have the fear, and we're talking about the fear piece. If you think about where you like to live, and even if you couldn't let's say afford the most expensive area in a particular community, then what you do, you get in your price range, you try to get, a fairly decent school, you try to get as little crime as possible. It's almost impossible to go anywhere in the world and not have some sort of crime. But you try to look at those things, and then what do? You want to go in, you want your house to look nice, you want the AC to work, you want a nice place. One of our primary things that we say to everybody that we assist in them getting into the real estate market is you're not getting into it to be a slumlord, okay? If you buy a property, it is an investment. You need to fix it. It needs to be a place you will live. Every property we own, we would live in it. And from an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment, to a large single-family house, to a multifamily building, even the commercial buildings that we own, we would put our office in them. We would live in it, any of them, at any given point. And so that's the way we take care of our asset.
Yeah,
and a lot of people that get over into this too take these stories from people that's not the people they are. They buy property and they do nothing to it, and they suck it dry, okay, and squeeze everything out of it, don't fix anything. And then that's the person you hear a story about, and you say, I don't want to do real estate. You look, again, lack of education.
It is. That's where the fear, I think that's where the fear and the anxiety come in, because most of the people that we talk to that have never invested in real estate before, the first thing they say is, I don't know what to do, and I'm afraid. I'm a little bit anxious.